Good evening, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news. But let's be that people represent us. And the problem we've had is that we do not have these representatives representing us, they're representing their agenda, whether it's globalist or selfish in nature, and they have forgotten us. So what did we get? We said, hey, let's get one of us. Actually enough, a billionaire who likes gold and is very flashy. But my goodness, Donald John Trump, the best president of my lifetime, who will go down as one of the best presidents in the history of this country. And it's been a constant fight ever since he came down that escalator. So this is where we're at, folks. Like, share and subscribe. There's only 3 things. I'm going to 4 things I'm going to cover in this episode. But I told you that first we're going to start off with a joke. This joke comes courtesy of Tim Allen. Now, as I showed you or played for you this morning, Biden was on 60 Minutes, and he said some ridiculous things. Okay. This is what Tim Allen tweeted out today. Actually, I guess it was last night. And the left is going crazy. 2 sentences. Biden was on 60 Minutes, or I heard he asked how long the show was. Go ahead and laugh, chuckle, smile, or roll your eyes, whatever the case may be. Actually, if not hilarious, actually pretty funny and witty. If you're like me, I grew up the first half of my childhood in Harlem, and we played something we call the dozens, or you may know them as your mama jokes. And this kind of humor is up my alley. We used to say things like your mama's so dumb. It takes her an hour to make minute rice, you know, and things like that wasn't ever about your mama. It was just about delivering something funny. Well, the left of course is going crazy. But that's not the end of it. They are about to go even crazier than ever. Roseanne Barr will appear in a stand-up comedy special exclusive to Fox and is going to come out the early part of next year 2023. You know, the left is not happy about that. They tried to cancel her. And now Fox is going to be having her back. She will be on this comedy special exclusive to Fox Nation, Fox's news' streaming service. And that's how she's going to be making her way back. I actually like what Fox Nation president Jason Klarman said about this developing project. He said, quote, Roseanne is a comedy icon whose humor connects with the American audience like no other. Her ability to channel the challenges of everyday people and find the humor in it all has earned her the passionate following of millions of dedicated fans. We are thrilled to add her a comedy special exclusively to the Fox Nation catalog. Like I said, a Roseanne comedy special is set to be released Q1 of 2023. And she's on the shortlist of people if I ever do a. Now, this next thing is a punchline. That is funny. And it's ridiculousness, and it's ridiculousness. And that is that these attorneys are suing Ron DeSantis for sending these illegal immigrants over to Martha's Vineyard, and also talked about how the sheriff of Bexar County in Texas is also doing an investigation into him. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, now we've got some details because we've got the filing here. So that these illegal aliens were Venezuelan. And they filed a lawsuit today, Tuesday. Okay. No, they didn't file it against the people in Martha's Vineyard who deported them using the military. Yeah. The military. To get them out. Now. They are suing Ron DeSantis. And you can't make this up. This is what the filing says. Absolutely incredible. I'm looking at it here. Let me go to the Miami Herald, who put it this way. 3 migrants who were part of our group that was flown from Texas to Martha's Vineyard last week by the state of Florida are using Governor Ron DeSantis and his and other state officials, alleging they were duped into traveling to an isolated island in the Northeast as part of a scheme to benefit the governor's political career. The suit filed in federal court in Massachusetts alleges that DeSantis, Florida's Transportation Department secretary, and others tricked migrants into leaving Texas by offering them McDonald's gift cards and other items to board the flights and by promising them assistance and employment. The plaintiffs include 3 anonymous Venezuelan migrants and Alianza Americas, a transnational organization that advocates on behalf of immigrants' rights. Okay, let me stop right there. They offered them McDonald's. Aren't these like impoverished poor people? First of all, we can ask how the hell do they afford attorneys, but already answered that question in a previous episode. These are leftist attorneys that supposedly are there to help people of color, even though helping illegal aliens is horrible for inner city people of color, legal immigrants, Greenheart, are green card holders and even dreamers, children of illegal immigrants in inner cities who are displaced in the job market and the schooling because of illegal aliens. But let's not talk about that. And let's not talk about the black youth who are denied entry-level positions because they'd rather hire a 35-year-old Guatemalan woman who needs this job to feed her family while she's probably also getting social benefits to survive, instead of a 60 to 70-year-old black youth who may or may not, because of their inexperience, stick around because they don't need the job or they're trying to get experience, or may need some time off for school, or band camp, or whatever the case may be. But let's not talk about how the hypocrisy of suppose they help in the brown community. Because it's left this marks as dogma actually hurts the communities of color. Can't say colored people, but you can say people of color. How the hell that makes sense? I have no idea. So they said that they tricked them into taking the place, promising them assistance and employment. Hey, the defense for Ron DeSantis is very easy. All to do show the document that says Martha's Vineyard declared themselves a sanctuary, a place of sanctuary. Therefore, sending them to Martha's Vineyard would have been fulfilling your promise of assistance and employment because Martha's Vineyard put it out there that they are a sanctuary place. The lawsuit names 5 other people as his finance for allegedly participating in the scheme to defendants and identified by migrants as Babla and Emmanuel. Pearl and Emmanuel, God with us, are believing or believed by attorneys to have been the people recruiting migrants in San Antonio to board the plane. Planes. Now here is the punchline. Laugh if you want, or roll your eyes, throw up in your mouth, or just be in absolute disgust like I was. This is what the lawsuit alleges. I am going to quote this. These immigrants who are pursuing the proper channels for lawful immigration status into the United States experienced cruelty akin to what they fled in their home country. Close quote. Are you out of your freaking damn minds? Oh, if you're a Marxist, that already is assumed these immigrants are pursuing the proper channels for lawful immigration by illegally entering the country. Oh, I get it with their false asylum claims, whatever. Experienced cruelty, akin to what they fled in their home country, the cruelty of giving them McDonald's cards, putting them on an air-conditioned plane over to one of the richest islands in the United States, is akin to the cruelty that they experienced under Maduro. And before that, Hugo Chavez. These leftists, you know what? They're not crazy. They're not stupid. They're not hypocritical. They're evil. They're vile, evil, wicked sons and daughters of Satan, because he is the master and the father of lies. Just not a religious channel, folks, but these people will tell them, many of them that will tell them to tell you themselves that they worship Satan. And then the rest of them that do either don't know they are or they know they are, but they want to keep it on the DL download. They want to keep it secret. Okay, let's get into the back and forth between Trump, his lawyers, and Special Master Raman Deary, and how he blasted Trump's lawyers in the conference today. So as I reported today, over in Brooklyn, Judge Raman Deary, the special master appointed to review the classified documents seized from Mar-a-Lago, supposedly have some back and forth with Trump's lawyers at today's preliminary conference. Okay, let's not forget that Judge Deary is one of the FISA judges who signed the warrant to spy on Carter Page without any substance. He was one of the 2 FISA court judges who rubber-stamped the warrants to spy on Carter Page. But let's not forget also he was one of the 2 judges presented by Trump's team to be the special master, different from the 2 that the DOJ put forth. But in the end, everyone agreed to Judge Deary. So it's not like now, people were splitting it one way and seeing it the other way. I think that Judge Deary here is making a case, or is trying to appear, or is, in other words, trying to seem fair in these proceedings. Okay. So, the senior federal judge tasked with reviewing the materials seized by the FBI sharply questioned Trump's attorneys Tuesday during their first hearing before his courtroom. Judge Raman Deary pushed Trump's law repeatedly for refusing to back up the former president's claim that he declassified the highly sensitive national security-related records discovered in his residence. So let's get into this a little deeper about what's happening here. Alright. So my view, let me get this because that's something, let me get some. Just so you can, I want to paint this so you can see, you can determine for yourself, and he's trying to be fit here. Alright. So from the outset of the 40-minute hearing, Deary signaled that he was determined that Trump's litigation strategy would not interfere with the review. Deary had agreed to do. The judge appeared to be referring to vague assertions of declassification by Trump's side, without so far as any facts to back that up. That's political. So what the judge said, look, I'm going to do my job, regardless of whatever litigation strategy that you guys have going on, But he did ask the Trump team, hey, you guys are making the assertion that these things aren't even classified because President Trump was a president and he declassified all that. Can you give me proof of that? Now, Trump's attorneys said the following. They said they didn't really want to go into that right now. James, trustee, one of Trump's attorneys, called it premature for Derry to consider that issue right now. It's going a little beyond what Judge Keenan contemplated in the first instance. In one of the several moments of palpable tension with the Trump team, Deary replied, I wasn't taken aback by your comment that I'm going beyond what Judge can instruct me to do. I think I'm doing what I'm told. And then he went on to say, my view of it is you can't have your cake and eat it too. In other words, he's saying you can't say that, well, these things are declassified. So that because where President Trump has had the power to declassify things. And then when I ask you, hey, what proof do you have that this stuff was declassified? You can't say? Well, it's premature to do that. Jerry was saying you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say that this wasn't declassified, but then not say how this information was declassified, but then not give me proof that it was declassified. But President Trump lawyers had to point a point that Judge Deary actually agreed with, and he said it's not about gamesmanship. Give me a second here, folks, I'm reading from 3 different documents here. Trump's team argued that the 11,000 documents taken from our logo were rightfully in his possession, including about 100 bearing classification markings that suggests they contain some of nation's most closely guarded intelligence. They said that if they were to disclose that now, they would be giving away their list of witnesses, their information. And most importantly, Trump's attorney trustee said trustee all attorney really is that I wonder that's really his name, trustee is a last name for an attorney. But I digress. Essentially said, what you're asking us, Judge Deary, to put on a defense of something that the Justice Department hasn't even officially accused us of. The filing from Trump's attorneys say the DOJ hasn't even made the claim or proven or put forth that those documents were even classified. They're just going by the fact that they've had classified markings on them. Very, very interesting back and forth. President Trump's legal team have said, and this is what President Trump said to Justice Solomon, John Solomon and Justin, you just said, quote, this is what. The Trump team told John Solomon, he had a standing order that documents removed from the Oval Office and taken to the residence were deemed to be declassified. The power to classify and declassify documents were solely with the press United States. The idea that some paper-pushing bureaucrat with classification authority delegated by the president needs to approve it, the classification is absurd. Okay. And Judge Deary just asked for some proof of that. And trustee said, no, it's just too premature to go into that. You're asking us to defend something that we may have to defend in court, but it hasn't been brought up yet. Okay. Without evidence from Trump TV said his only basis to judge the classification level of the records was the fact that they all bear markings that designating them as highly sensitive national security secrets, including some that indicate they contain intelligence derived from human sources and foreign intercepts. Possibly, I don't know, people like Lushenko and others who were made by the FBI human sources later to protect and hide the fact that they were Clinton operatives and that the FBI actually was the ones colluding with actual Russians. Crazy stuff. But he said, I can't allow the litigation strategy that takes the outcome of recommendations to Judge Cannon. And he said at the end, what is the business of the court? Then, but he let me show you where I think he was being fair. He said that and by the way, this took place in front of journalists, and no cameras recording was allowed. And then the joke was made about the we shouldn't have to be okay. This is what he said, regarding I'm jumping back here for a second. This is what trustee said. Regarding not giving that information to Judge Deere at this time regarding the claim that these documents are already declassified, he said, quote, it's not about gamesmanship. It's about not having seen the documents. We are not in a position, nor should we be in a position at this juncture to fully disclose a substantive defense. We shouldn't have to be in a position to have to disclose declarations and witness statements. So they shouldn't have to have this stuff for discovery for the FBI, when the FBI hasn't made or the DOJ hasn't made those charges against them yet. And it's premature. And Jerry said, you can't have your cake and eat it too. But he understood their position. Now trust, he told the judges, then he went after the National Archives, who called them political and partisan, who wanted access to these things. But we're saying that President Trump didn't have access to them. So he called the National Archives out for being political and partisan, and not believing them not to be so. And then when it came to the question of who would have access to these information, whether the attorneys could have it, and the DOJ telling jokes theory, you know what? Trump's people shouldn't have access to these confidential information, yet they wanted access to it. Jugs theory called them out on that hypocrisy as well, saying, hey, look, this is on a need-to-know basis. Trump's attorneys may need to know this stuff. Why are they being denied? Look at it, but you're making the case that you should be. So once again, I'm thinking that the judge theory was just trying to be very fair and measured in this and not trying to come off as favorable. Now he is a Reagan-appointed judge. But as we have seen, he was the one who signed off not once, but twice on Carter Page warrants. But once again, in his defense being fair, we know that exculpatory evidence in favor of Carter was not shown to Jugs theory and others, and then it made the Shenko a paid informant for the FBI. So they said, oh, we got to protect our sources and methods. So it could be that Derry really was as a judge, just going by the information presented to him by the DOJ and the FBI and issuing those FISA warrants. And we know that those warrants weren't complete manufacturing to the client. Smith was a liar and admitted to so, but he still got off. So perhaps Derry, a 1986 appointee of Donald Duck of Ronald Reagan, is up to the task. And he said that he is going to keep the time schedule. He's not going to rush it, but he's going to act expeditiously. Thanks for sticking around. Follow me daily. I will do my best to show you. There's a lot of information that shows what's going on. Remember where we go.